Welcome back. We've got some repairs to do today on the old 3020. The water pump started to go out on it. I'm assuming what happened is the bearing in the pump went out, and it's starting to go out at least. And you can't really see, but that's the water pump right there. And there is something on it called a weep hole. W-E-E-P, weep hole. And what that is it is a hole that is in the actual casting of the pump. So when the bearing goes out, this gives it a little spot for the coolant to leak out, so you know that the bearing's out and it's time to replace it. Otherwise it would be basically, I'm assuming, just like an internal leak and you would never see it. So I already pulled the side shields off. I got this one off here on this side and got the other one off. I've never worked on one of these before, so it's kind of all going to be trial and error for me. I'm really hoping I don't have to pull the loader off, just because I really don't want to. I don't want to fool with it. But I got these side panels off, and looking at it, I'm assuming that I can maybe take the hood off, and then I can loosen the fan shroud to get the fan shroud out of the way so I can pull it off. But I don't know, though. I'm sure it could be done with the hood on, potentially, but I'm sure it would be a lot harder. Because, like, looking in here, it's really not... It's just right there, but the issue's kind of going to be the fan. Well, maybe not, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to start messing with it, and we'll see how it goes. First things first, though, I'm going to try and save as much coolant as possible so I don't have to use a bunch of new coolant. There's a drain right here. Now, in my luck, this thing's probably going to be... Oh, yeah, of course. I guess not a big deal. The little butterfly valve's not moving, but it's actually the whole thing's unplugging or unscrewing from the bottom, which is probably a better thing anyways, because this valve's probably full of crap anyways, so I'm going to pull it out and let that start draining. Alright, coolant stopped coming out, and I went ahead and pulled the hood off. There's two levers. At least on this one there is. There's one right here in the front, that's locked, and then you pull it out like this, and it unlocks. You watch this top tab, when you pull it out, it lifts up and unlocks. It's like that on both sides, and then there's two bolts that go right here, and they come up from the top. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and loosen the bolts on this fan shroud and see if I can push it forward and then get behind the other side and take the bolts off the fan. So I got the fan shroud loosened and pulled back, and after some more thorough investigation, if I take these two bolts out here, two more on the other side, that rod there and there, top hose, bottom hose, the whole radiator comes out, and then I'll have so much more room to actually get in there. And take the fan off. Because right now I have like no room to get in there. Okay, so getting this off with the radiator still in there would have been dang near impossible. I put some penetrating oil just around it and on the back, and I took a hammer and just tapped the back side of this thick part just over and over again, just around in a circle, just around and around and around, and it finally worked it off and pulley came off. And it's a good thing I pulled this out anyways too, because the back of this is, well, that's the front actually. The front of this is disgusting. It needs cleaned out. So, kill two birds with one stone with that. But I got a couple more things to pull off. I need to pull this hose off. that little hose right there, and then this top hard line, and then all the mounting bolts, and it'll come out. I want to look on this new one real quick. Okay, so that's threaded in. That has a plug in it. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to see, I was trying to see if those threads were made into this or not, because I wanted to figure out which way to turn it. Well, I guess it gets turned the same way either way. Never mind. I don't know what I was thinking. Loose is loose no matter what, no matter how it's put in there. I went ahead and put a bucket underneath because I have a sneaky suspicion that there's going to be a little bit of coolant coming out of this. Yeah. Well, I managed to catch some of it, I guess. It's alright. That's what floor dry is for. So this was a universal pump. It fits a lot of models of tractors. And it came with a little goodie bag here. I don't need that. I wish I was using that on the top instead of that hard line. But I don't need that. I don't need that freeze plug. I don't need that 90. Don't need the lock washer. All I need is just a little straight pipe, which I wish they could just make these threaded holes, not compression, press-in pipes, whatever. Yeah, see on this one, it's just that pipe sticking out the bottom. And then here, there's actually not even a cutout for anything right here, but on this one there's a threaded port with a plug, but I'm gonna pull that plug out, make sure that it's sealed, probably put some thread tape or something on it. I don't know the proper way to put this in. I'm assuming the technical proper way would be use a press, but I think I'm just gonna use a block of wood and a hammer and just tap it in slowly. I mean, I'm not going to hurt it. So using a block of wood will still let the force go through, but it's not going to mushroom the end of the pipe from the metal on metal from the hammer. I might need to put this in a vise. I'm going to be here all day doing this. Okay, it's not in all the way, but it's in up to about right here, which I think it can go in more up here. But it's into about right here, roughly, which is plenty. That thing ain't coming out. What I ended up doing, I just held it up and then just slammed it down on top of this. And it chewed the wood up, but that's what the wood's for. That's why I use wood. So the wood, the force still goes through, but the wood is what gets deformed and not your piece that you're working on. I had to pull this back plate off too, because as I was slamming it down, there's one set screw that goes up in there, up in here to hold that plate on, and the whole thing was like shifting, and it was bending the gasket all up. Thankfully I didn't rip the gasket, but yeah, so I'm gonna put this back on and clean up the front of the engine block, and the pump will be ready to go back on. I just spent a decent amount of time cleaning up this surface with a little it's kind of like a little sandpaper wheel thing on like a little air tool. just buffing the whole thing up, and then I used the rag and cleaned it all up, because last thing you want to do is bolt that up and put all that back together and it leaks because the surface was dirty. This is what I used. I don't know what the technical name is, but it just goes ring and spins really fast and cleans up the block. So now, the way this is, it doesn't have studs sticking out. It has bolts you put through. So there's no good way to keep your gasket on there while you're trying to put it on. So what you do, you don't have to do this, but it helps a lot. What you do is you come to your handy dandy custom made stud selection and you grab a stud or a bolt with the head cut off. I don't know if this is even, I think this is too big, but you take this and you screw it in there and it sticks right there. You put your gasket on, put your pump on, so everything's aligned, put a couple bolts in, and then you just unthread these by hand. And everything's aligned, it's all straight, nothing's pinched. And it's a lot faster and nicer and just works out a lot better. I think these might be it right here. Yeah, so see, so I'll thread these in just like this. And these actually have grooves already cut in them. But I'll thread these in, and then this will give me something to set the gasket on to keep it straight. And then I can set the pump on there. And everything will be aligned. And if there is anybody watching this, because you're going to do it, when you put your gasket on, most of the time they are directional, but they can only go on one way, because like if I put this on the other way, these top two bolt holes wouldn't align. And you also just want to make sure to not touch the gasket mating area, especially if your hands are dirty and oily, because it could not seal. But this is the only thing I think is going to cause me a fit, is this hard line right here. But I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping this will just thread right in. I think it did. I think we're good. So now what I'll do is, oh, okay, I can turn it. I was gonna say I might have to get a screwdriver and put it in that groove to unscrew it, but since I got these top bolts in, I can take these alignment dowels out now. And I'm just now realizing I put the wrong bolt in here. They're a little bit, so the sizes are a little bit different. This one goes here. And then this top one actually goes down here. And I don't have a clue, honestly, what the sequence is to torque them, or what the torque spec is, but I'm just going to make them nice and snug. I don't see why a X pattern wouldn't be okay. Other thing gotta be careful too is little 3/8 bolts like this, you can just snap them right off. So just nice and snug. It ain't going anywhere. Something else that helps too is cooling systems have pressure on them, but not very much. Like I'm pretty sure it's less than like 20 pounds. I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not that high. So that's another thing that helps too with not really having to crank down those bolts, is there's really not much pressure behind them that you're trying to keep in. Something else you want to do is keep track of your bolts. I don't know what I did with the bolts for the fan right here. I can't find them. So I've been going crazy because there's a little like cone shaped spacer that goes in between here on the alternator, and when I pulled that apart I dropped it and I had no idea where it went, and I was looking for it for like the past 30 minutes trying to find it, because it has to be in there because it aligns the alternator in there just to make everything straight. And I got so frustrated and I came over here and sat down, and I was going to eat a bag of pretzels and calm my frustration down, and I sat down and I looked up and I saw this little black speck on the floor right here, and it's the little cone spacer. That thing somehow rolled all the way over here. I don't know how in the world it did that. I've seen like nuts and washers roll pretty far before, but I don't know. I don't know if I kicked it over there. I don't know if it got stuck under my boot and fell off over there. I don't know. Moral of the story is I got it now, so I can keep putting this back together. And this thing isn't really like made right. Like typically on an alternator, you just loosen this top. There's a sliding hole right here, and you put a bolt through the top. You can't see it because I got the camera mounted, but you put a bolt through the top and then you slide the alternator like back and forth so you can loosen the belt. Well, the thing's all the way back and the belt's like tight, so I had to pull this bottom bolt out to pull the alternator down, blah blah blah. But then there's another washer, just has a little spacer that goes on the other side right here. Alright, I gotta see if I remember how to put the rest of this thing together. I'm pretty sure I'm to the radiator now, because I got everything's bolted on tight. Yeah, I need to put on that hose right here so it's there, and then I'm ready to put this in. I'm gonna clean this real quick first, actually. It's not bad, but it could definitely be cleaned, so I'm gonna do that real quick, and then it'll be time to throw that in. And also, by the way, I was wrong. It's not these two bolts right here. There's just one mount bolt right here with a spring. There's one on this side and one on the other side. I had to move this little fuel return line out of the way because it goes in the top of the tank here and it sits right on top of the radiator, so it wasn't hard at all to move. Just break that little connection and it pulls right out. Just got to be easy with it because it's a hard line, and these hard lines are easy to crack if you're not careful with them. Kind of hard to video, but now I got to tighten up those two clamps down there, and then there's a clamp right in there on this main radiator hose. I got to tighten those up, and then those are the last two clamps for the radiator. You know, sometimes I really enjoy how simple these old tractors are. There's nothing to them. You got an engine, a radiator, and a fuel tank. That's all there is to it. There's no other junk, no other stupid electronic junk that goes bad. There's not 14 different sizes of metric bolts for one part. Everything's like the same size. The only two wrenches I touched were 1/2 inch and 9/16. But that was the last thing, was that intake pipe. So I'm gonna do one last, just kind of look over, make sure I got everything back how it's supposed to be. And I'm gonna go ahead and then fill it full of coolant and run it with the hood off before I put everything on. That way I can really look all up inside of there to make sure nothing's leaking. You know, it probably wouldn't hurt to just go ahead and put new coolant in it, but I don't know. There's nothing wrong with this stuff. It's actually not. I was expecting it to be a lot dirtier, and it's actually not that bad. I mean, it ain't clean, but it's not bad at all. I thought there'd be some floaties in there. There's actually not. All right, I'm gonna do one last thorough look around and then start her up and let her run for a little bit. All right, moment of truth. See if I know what I'm doing or not. Nope, clearly not. Gotta turn the throttle up first. So far everything looks good, nothing's leaking, but I'm gonna let it run for a little bit to try and get any air bubbles out, and then I'll top it off with some coolant and then put the hood on and finish everything up. Now what I don't like about working on these old tractors is their terrible hood designs. There's a bolt that goes in the bottom over there, bolt go over there, and there's two little levers, and then you have to pick the whole thing up above the exhaust. I'm not a fan of that. I'll take my newer tractors with hinges and latches, and I'll take that over this. Because then you gotta pull this stupid thing off, the air cleaner thing. This one's kind of goofy. It has like these levers with pins that come down. Ow. But they don't move very nice. Now, how in the world am I supposed to get that in there? I think this is where it goes. Yeah, it goes right here. Oh, for Pete's sakes. I'm gonna get very mad very quickly at this. This is my point though. It's like, there's no tolerance on anything. Like, everything has to be exactly perfectly in the right spot. You know, I don't think it would be that big a deal if we just left it off. You know, it's really not protecting anything anyways. Okay. I'm never taking that off ever again. These ones on the front, these are easy. You just got a spring. Got a spring right here that you hook onto the back of it. You just gotta find the right spot to hook it. That's gonna have to do. And then there's like little dowels, little pins on the bottom. You just line them up. And that's it. The pins stick in the bottom and then the spring holds it up. Oh, there we go. Yep, that one's done. Gonna help myself out on this one a little bit and actually clean the bottom off to get any kind of dirt or anything out. Wow, I should really probably blow this thing out. Yeah, it's a job for another day. Gotta give me something to do the rest of the week. It rained a bunch. Same thing with this one. Gotta find the spot where it goes, hook it on, get my little pins in, and that's it. Ta-da! And that is how you change a water pump on a John Deere 3020. Probably check in a couple days. Well, not a couple days when we actually use it. This is our little chore tractor, little toy. My dad uses it to grade the driveway, rake hay with it, ted hay, move round bales with it, like loading onto the trailer out of the field. So next time we use it, I'll just watch the coolant level because I'm sure there's still some air in there. It's got to burp its way out. But yeah, I didn't think that was a bad job at all. My least favorite part about that was the hood, messing with the hood on that. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.